So it's really lovely to be here today talking to you all about a subject that is very appropriate, I think, at this time of year, coming into Christmas and the festive season. This can be a time where there's a lot of temptations, there's a lot of food around that we wouldn't maybe necessarily eat at other times of the year, and the amount of food that suddenly appears everywhere. So weight management topic is very appropriate now. So what we're actually going to be talking about today is managing weight through menopause, a nutritional lifestyle guide. So really understanding what happens when we come into menopause, perimenopause, menopause, and why this can lead to weight gain, or why we can have struggles suddenly in managing our weight. So what I want to do first, before I get started, is just to introduce myself. I'm a registered nutritional therapist and a beauty therapist, and I've worked in the health and wellness industry for over 30 years, specifically working with women's menopausal health, perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause. So I really help women 40 plus, going through this menopausal transition to feel better. There's a lot of different symptoms that we can experience, like brain fog, fatigue, stress, anxiety, and unwanted weight gain. So I really help women feel better, gain more energy, and embrace the vibrant life that they deserve. So what are we going to be covering today? Today we're going to be covering how to understand, what is actually going on here. So understanding menopause and weight gain, nutrition for weight management. What should we be thinking about? What can we do with our nutrition to help manage this? And then lifestyle approaches to support healthy weight. And then we're going to have a question and answers session at the end. What I wanted to do before we start is just to ask everyone by a show of virtual hands. So if you can just put your hand up virtually to explain, what have you experienced regarding weight changes since you entered midlife or menopause? Have you experienced any weight changes or fluctuations in your weight, or maybe you haven't? But it would just be good to know how many of you have been struggling a bit with weight management. That would be great. Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you. So before we actually get on to what is happening, I just wanted to go through, what happens when we come into menopause. We have our reproductive years where, you can see there on the picture, there's all these curves. You've got estrogen, you've got progesterone, and you've got your monthly cycle. But what happens when we come into perimenopause, which is the first stage of the menopause transition? This is where things can suddenly start to get a bit unbalanced. Estrogen can actually be quite high. It can be what we call estrogen dominant during this time, and progesterone can be low. So things really start to become unbalanced. This starts on average at the age of 45. It can start earlier, can start later. There's many factors that come into play, but one of the factors here is that the imbalance in these hormones can trigger off the menopausal symptoms. And there's a very, very long list of different menopausal symptoms. You've got hot flushes, you've got weight gain, brain fog, mood swings, the list goes on. So you can start experiencing these symptoms in perimenopause. Perimenopause is very individual. On average, we say that women go into menopause, which means when you haven't had a menstruation for a year, at the age of 51. And this means that you are no longer ovulating and you are no longer fertile. So menopause, in effect, is really just one day when you haven't had a period for a year. All the time after that is what we call postmenopause. And postmenopause, that's the rest of a woman's life, where you're not producing estrogen or progesterone, or a very small amount from the adrenal glands, and you are no longer fertile. So that's just a brief explanation of the menopause transition. And when we look at how women, menopausal symptoms and how women experience the menopause transition and what they find most challenging, we can see here, okay, we're talking about weight gain today, but that is very high up on the list of symptoms that women may suffer from. This was actually done through all the menopause online communities, which there are many, and they have many members. They asked them what symptoms they found most challenging. And the thing about weight gain is, that can be triggered off, or there's so many different factors in the reason why we put weight on. For example, night sweats, which is a big symptom there as well. If you're not sleeping, that has an effect on weight gain. If you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling emotionally emotional health is suffering, then you're not maybe going to feel so active. You're not going to want to go out and move and exercise. So all these symptoms in themselves can have an effect on weight management, which we're going to be talking about. So on average, women gain around 1.5 kilograms per year during perimenopause, with an average total weight of 10 kilograms. And that is average. Obviously, it's very individual, and some women are in perimenopause for 10 years. Some women are in perimenopause for a shorter period of time. So it's very individual, but that's on average. And we tend to change our body shape. When we're younger, when we're in a premenopause, we tend to be more of a pear shape. But what can happen in menopause is that we change body shape. So we change more to an apple. So rather than collecting our weight, on the buttocks, the hip, the thigh area, it kind of moves up more to the tummy, to the trunk area of the body. And this is very common. This is something that women experience, and it happens very gradually, but we do actually change body shape. Some of the typical symptoms that we can see are, all of a sudden you feel you have to kind of loosen your belt. The choice of clothes you wear are significantly reduced. You may go up a dress size. Your clothes start feeling a bit tighter. And you can also feel breathlessness when you're walking. Or moving, or maybe going upstairs that you would never have had a problem with before. You can suddenly find that you become breathless in this activity, and this can be due to the metabolic changes that are happening in the body and the body's ability to utilize energy. And one thing that I wanted to just talk about here before we move on to what is actually happening is the diet cycle, because this is something that many women, and I know many clients of mine have really been stuck in. And it can start at quite a young age, that you really want to lose weight. And there's many diets out there, aren't there? There's thousands of different fad diets out there promising everything. But what research is actually showing is that fad diets, the really restrictive diets, long term don't work because they're not sustainable. You can't restrict yourself for long periods of time. Your body doesn't like that, and it's also very hard mentally. So what happens in the diet cycle is, you start a diet, you've read somewhere, you've seen a diet, you start a diet, which is normally very restricting. And on restrictive diets, it's okay in the beginning, but you do feel deprived and you do feel tempted by foods because you're feeling very deprived. And you will most likely get cravings because you're feeling hungry. You're going to be tempted by food. And, even if you're the strongest of persons, it's very hard to not to give in to cravings. Even if you manage to do it for weeks or months, you will eventually give in to these foods that you were restricted. And then you'll give in, and then you maybe will eat too much of these foods, or you could even binge eat on these foods. And once you've done that, you're going to start feeling guilty, you'll have low self-esteem, and it will knock your confidence. And then you give up. So, you just go back to eating how you were before, or maybe more. And what's actually shown is people that do, are in this kind of what we call this dieting yo-yo, is that they normally put the weight back on that they maybe lost during the restrictive diet and more. So what happens then when you're feeling guilty, you've maybe put the weight back on, you will then go back and start another diet. So what I wanted to really emphasize here is that, unfortunately, there is no quick fix to long-term weight management. It's all about your daily habits and eating healthily and avoiding processed sugary foods. Don't focus on your weight, focus on being healthy. If your daily habits involve healthy, balanced eating, your body you will lose weight. It's just fad diets, long term, are too restrictive and don't work. So what is actually going on here? Let's understand menopausal weight gain. It's, as I've already said, it's multifactorial and it's very individual. We've got the hormones here coming into play during menopause. We have a decline in estrogen, we have a decline in progesterone, and also we have testosterone there, which reduces. Estrogen is a major metabolic hormone. So when this hormone declines, there's a lot of metabolic changes that happen in the body. And one of these is that low levels of estrogen increases fat storage. So your body will store more fat to compensate for estrogen loss. And this will happen most likely around the abdomen area. That's where we tend to collect our fat as we age as women. Because the body's very clever. When it realizes that there's a decline in estrogen, it will store, you can store hormones in fat, and it will store estrogen in fat around the abdomen area. And this is what we call hormonal fat. And hormonal fat can be quite difficult to lose. Progesterone decline may cause water retention and bloating, which also can be mistaken for weight gain, even though it isn't. It feels uncomfortable, and we can maybe feel like we've actually gained weight. And then we have testosterone, which declines naturally with age. And this really can have an effect on our metabolism, slowing our metabolism and making it easier to gain weight and actually harder to lose. So some other things here, it's not easy. There's a list of many things that come into play with weight management. And we have the aging process. I mean, we can't forget that we're getting older, and, things happen in the body as we age, including a change or a slowing down in the metabolism. So the aging process does have an effect on our weight management. The metabolic changes, when estrogen levels decline and we come into menopause, this can have an effect on many aspects of the metabolism, which can lead to weight gain. We become less active, not always, but we can find as people age that we're not as active as we were when we were younger. And also, if you're suffering from, a list of menopausal symptoms, you may be not going to be feeling so great and wanting to go outside and exercise. So all of this kind of adds up. So we move less, which again can add to weight gain. Insulin resistance, this can be something that menopausal women can suffer from. We find that our body isn't as sensitive to insulin, which is a hormone that allows our body to utilize energy. And when we're insulin resistant, this can have an effect on our blood sugar management. And high blood sugar levels means fat storage. And again, the fat predominantly will be stored around the abdomen area. Thyroid issues can actually be seen in women as we age and become more common during perimenopause and menopause. And the thyroid is a gland that sits at the base of the neck, and this produces hormones that it's like the engine of the body, and we really need these hormones for our metabolism. And some of the side effects of thyroid issues are very similar to menopausal symptoms. So if that's something that you're concerned about, I would recommend that you ask your doctor for a blood test. And then we also have medications can cause weight gain, antidepressants, steroids, for example. Muscle loss. We lose muscle as we age, and muscles crave energy. So even if you're not working out a lot, if you have a muscular body, you will actually burn more energy. So muscles are crucial for weight management. Strength training in particular is something that we really need to do as we get older as women. Sleep disturbances. We find in menopause that we might have problems sleeping. Sleep is crucial for weight management. It has an effect on how we feel the next day. And sleep, if we don't sleep properly, your body will the day after normally crave carbohydrates, and it will crave carbohydrates, not the healthy carbohydrates. It will normally crave, the sugar, the processed foods, because it wants energy, because you're tired. And sleep also has an effect on our hunger hormones, leptin and ghrelin. Menopause in general can have an effect on these hormones, but if you're not sleeping, it can have a even further effect on these hormones. Leptin and ghrelin are what regulate our appetite, and it's been shown in menopause that these hormones don't basically work like they used to. They can become unbalanced. Ghrelin can stimulate our appetite. That's like the hunger hormone that tells us to eat, whereas leptin is the hormone that tells us we've had enough, you can stop eating. So the imbalance in these hormones can also cause appetite changes, that we can suddenly feel more hungry than we did before, and we can comfort eat. And then we have stress. Chronic stress it's very difficult to lose weight if you're chronically stressed, due to the stress hormone, in particular cortisol. Cortisol is a fat storing hormone. So if you're chronically stressed and have cortisol in your blood system, it is very difficult to lose weight. When I'm working with my clients on weight management, stress is something that we look at first, because we need to find a way to manage stress to help with weight management. Even if you're eating a very good diet, if you're constantly stressed, it is actually very difficult to lose weight. So as we talk about stress further, elevated cortisol levels can increase appetite, and it promotes fat storage, specifically around the tummy area. It leads to imbalance in blood sugar levels, which means fat storage. It disrupts sleep patterns, which affect weight management, and it can trigger off emotional eating and cravings. So just a question here for you all. What is the biggest challenge with managing, what's your biggest challenge with managing weight during menopause? What, if you are looking at managing weight, what have you really found has been the biggest challenge? Maybe we can just have a quick discussion about that, because I think it's quite interesting for us to talk about this, and because everybody's different. Whether it's the fact that you haven't got enough time, or you've tried everything and nothing isn't working. If you could just write that in the chat box, that would be great. Thank you. So what can we do? The good news is there are many things that we can do. So let's discuss this. When we look at top weight management tips, these are the things that I've found with my clients, and years of working with clients really help with weight management. And like I say, it's all about your daily habits. Increasing protein. Protein is crucial for our satiety, it's crucial for, it's the building blocks of the body. But if we eat protein, it helps with blood sugar management and it makes us feel full. And in general, we don't eat enough protein. So eating protein with every meal, a palm size. Then having healthy fats with every meal, because they, again, make us feel full and they prevent cravings. Things like nuts, seeds, butter, olive oil, coconut oil, olives, avocados are some great sources of healthy fats. And then reducing carbohydrates. Now, vegetables are actually carbohydrates. So really, filling up on vegetables. So having your portion of protein there, having a healthy fat, and then vegetables. When I say reducing carbohydrates, I mean more like your white carbohydrates. So like white rice, white bread, potatoes, all of those things that you maybe have half of your plate full of. We don't actually need that as we get older, unless you're extremely active. So reducing carbohydrates and making sure that you're eating enough protein, healthy fats is a good way to manage weight. The Mediterranean style diet, this is been shown in studies to be a very beneficial way to eat, and also for weight management. And it's exactly as I said, proteins, fats, lots of nuts and seeds, vegetables, fruits. It's a very long-term positive way of eating. And then one thing that we shouldn't forget is not to drink our calories. Be mindful of what you're actually drinking, because even when we're trying to lose weight, we're maybe very aware of what's on our plate, but we don't necessarily think of what we're drinking. Some of these fizzy drinks, etc., are loaded with sugar, and they can really add up what you're actually taking in the day. So just be careful of what you're drinking. So some more top tips here. Portion size. Don't go back for seconds. It's very easy, isn't it? Food is delicious. It's very easy when we've had dinner or lunch. If there's still some leftovers there, is to go back and take seconds. Just be mindful of how much you're eating. What we want to think about in midlife and as we age, that we don't actually need as much food as we did when we were younger. The body takes around, when we've eaten, it takes around 20 minutes for the body to register, what we've eaten and create that feeling of satiety. But what happens is normally we eat dinner, we think, oh, that was delicious, I'm just going to have some more. We don't wait. We go back and we eat seconds when we finished. But if you wait, they say research shows it takes around 20 minutes. If you wait 20 minutes, you normally feel very satisfied and you don't actually need to go back for seconds. So that's a good way for weight management because it cuts down on the amount that you eat. And another great tip that I use with clients is to use smaller plates. I know that probably sounds very basic, but if you use a smaller plate and have food on that, the plate looks full. So you think, oh, this is great. I've got loads of food here. It's quite interesting when you look at sizes of plates. I've actually got some plates that were my grandmother's dinner plates, and they're really small compared to what our dinner plates look like today. So the size of plates over the years has increased considerably. So smaller plates is a great idea to reduce the amount that we eat. And increasing fiber, we all need fiber. Fiber fills us up. It helps with elimination. It keeps our digestive tract in good working order, but it also makes us feel full. And during menopause, particularly in perimenopause, we need fibers to help eliminate and detoxify estrogens. So it's very important that we are eating enough fiber. And if you're filling your plate with half full of vegetables, then you will be getting enough fiber. It's just really making sure that you get that amount of vegetables, and whole grains are a great source of fiber. So what we want to think about really is to swap non-nutritious foods for nutritious foods. That's what it's all about. It's not about restriction. It's about choosing to eat foods that nourish your body. Dieting should not be deprivation. You know, we should be just eating delicious foods in moderation. And it's all about mindful eating, you know, really enjoying your food. Don't eat when you're stressed. You know, don't come in from work when you're maybe still, you know, wound up or stressed. Sit down and breathe for a bit before you eat, because you will eat and digest the food better, but you won't actually eat as much. It's also been shown that if people eat in front of television, computers, etc., that you tend to eat more rather than if you sit down in front with your family or friends and eat. So this plate here, I just wanted to show you, this is from Bant and it's called Fight the Fat, Beat the Bloat. It just gives you an idea of what your plate should look like. And like I was saying, half the plate should be vegetables, leafy greens, salads. And then, you know, well over a quarter is your protein. And then you've got a small amount of starchy carbohydrates there. Because it's good to see, so you can actually picture that of what your plate should be looking like for weight management. And when we look at portion control, it's very easy, isn't it, to pile your plate full of food. But when we talk about protein, we're looking at a palm size of protein. Vegetables is like a fist size, that's one portion. Fat is the top of your thumb, and carbohydrates is a palmful. Because it's very easy, isn't it, to eat too much and have big portions of food. So now we know what we should be eating. What are the things that we should be avoiding? I mean, alcohol. Alcohol is not the friend of a menopausal woman for many reasons, but one reason is that it contributes to weight gain. It's high in energy, it's high in sugar. Normally, you know, we tend to drink alcohol in the evenings, maybe when we've come back from work. And this can trigger off cravings. When you've had a couple of glasses of wine, you suddenly find yourself with your head in the fridge. So it triggers you off to eat more. It can affect your sleep. So all of these things contribute to weight management. So what I would recommend to anyone that is really looking at managing their weight is to really reduce alcohol or just avoid it for a while. Ultra-processed foods full of sugar, damaged fats, they are not good for weight management. They're not good for our health in general. But if you're really trying to lose weight, you need to cut out these foods and just eat whole foods. Fizzy drinks loaded with sugar. Really want to avoid those, full stop, and limit caffeine because that is a stimulant and can affect blood sugar levels. You want to be thinking of swapping white for brown. So all the white foods, like the processed foods, white flour, white bread, and looking more for the whole grain products like brown rice, brown bread instead, that's got more fiber in. Dried fruit and fruit juices are very high in sugar. And that is something that I would certainly recommend avoiding if you are trying to lose weight. You know, and then we have sugar, don't we? I mean, good old sugar, added sugar, which unfortunately is in so many of our food products today. And this doesn't help with weight management. You know, when we look at sugar, when we look at the authorities, what they're saying, you know, the governmental bodies that put limits on, you know, or they recommend the foods that we should be eating. They say we should have no more than 7 teaspoons of sugar a day. I mean, as a nutritional therapist, I would prefer it that we didn't really have any added sugar, but it's impossible really to avoid it because it's in everything. You know, we get sugar naturally from foods, like fruit is a good example, but we don't want to add sugar. We don't want any more sugar in the foods that we're eating. So you can see this list that I've put here. Starbucks coffee, so a grande Starbucks coffee, how many teaspoons of sugar would you say is in that? If you can just write that in the chat box, that would be great. As you can see there, 7 to 9 teaspoons of sugar. So, you've already, if you have that coffee in the morning, you've already virtually gone over what you should be having for the whole day. Coca-Cola, a 330 milliliter can, 9 teaspoons of sugar. Kellogg's Frosties, 30 grams, 3 teaspoons. A Mars bar, like a standard size, is 8 teaspoons of sugar. And then a smoothie, a fruit smoothie, 6 to 7. So you can really see how, sugar is everywhere, and you really have to be mindful of that, because we don't want to be eating these amounts of sugar for our overall health, and specifically if we want to lose weight. So then we come on to blood sugar balance, which I know I spoke about before, but blood sugar balance is key for weight management, because if we're on this blood sugar roller coaster throughout the day, it's very difficult to lose weight. For example, if we have in the morning, if we have a coffee and a muffin, this will shoot your blood sugar up. It's full of refined carbohydrates. Caffeine also has an effect on your blood sugar. This will shoot your blood sugar up. And when your blood sugar is high, you will produce insulin, which is a hormone that allows your body to utilize the energy, allows the cell to take in the energy. And it does that very well. So your blood sugar will crash. And when you've got low blood sugar, you then have cravings for sweet, refined, sugary foods. Your body wants energy, wants sugar. And it can also lead to stress. It can make you feel tired. It can just make you feel terrible. And then you'll eat maybe some biscuits, something sweet, and your blood sugar shoots up again. And you come into this roller coaster throughout the day with, low blood sugar, high blood sugar, low blood sugar, high blood sugar. And this is not good for our overall health, and specifically for weight management, because when we have high blood sugar, we store fat. And that isn't what we want when we're trying to lose weight. Insulin is a fat storing hormone. So we need to think about what we're eating and eat in balance with protein, healthy fats, and carbohydrates from vegetables. This will help to manage our blood sugar. Time restricted eating, I just wanted to mention this because this is something that I get asked a lot about, especially with weight management. Time restricted eating or fasting is really about cutting down the hours that you eat. It's eating within a window of time, because what we're seeing, we still need more research on this topic, but what we're seeing is that we don't actually need to eat all the time. It's good to give our body a break. Our digestive tract needs time to repair. It's actually been shown to be helpful for blood sugar levels as well, time restricted eating. And when it comes to weight management, you can actually do this quite easily. You should think about what works for you. And this really is something that it isn't for everybody. And if you have an eating disorder, if you're pregnant, if you're breastfeeding, if you have higher calorific needs, then this is not something that you should be doing. And you should always really talk to your doctor first before doing any sort of restrictive eating. And obviously blood sugar, diabetes, any of those sorts of issues, then you should not be doing this sort of time restricted eating. What it is really eating within a window. So if you, for example, have your breakfast at 7 o'clock and then you have your dinner at 7 o'clock, so you're eating within that from 7 to 7. But what we want to do with time restricted eating is really eat in a smaller window. So what you can do, for example, is finish your dinner by 6 o'clock. So say you have breakfast at 10 and then finish your dinner by 6 o'clock. Then you're eating in a much smaller window there. Some people do that, they don't eat breakfast. So if you go to bed at, we say 11 o'clock, if you stop eating at 7, 8 o'clock, if you say 8 o'clock, then, you've got all those hours between 8 and the next time you eat. So if you have breakfast at 10 o'clock instead, that you've got a big amount of hours there that you're not actually eating. So time restrictive eating means when you're asleep as well, which obviously is easier because you're not going to be feeling hungry, but it's just cutting down the time that we eat. We don't actually need to be eating and snacking the whole time. What I find when I've done this is I don't eat breakfast. I'll have a brunch, which is kind of a lunch breakfast at around 11:30. So if I stop eating at 7 o'clock in the evening and then have my lunch at 11:30, that's quite a few hours there. And it's actually you get used to this style of eating if it works for you. Like I say, it's certainly not for everybody. But even if you don't do this, I think it's mindful to be thinking about you don't actually need to be eating all the time. Try and stop eating in the evenings by 7 o'clock. And don't have loads of snacks and stuff when you're in front of the television, because that can really be beneficial with weight management is time restricted eating. Drinking water, we all know that we should drink water, but we don't tend to drink enough, and this is crucial for weight management because it reduces feelings of hunger. A lot of the time when you're hungry, you're not actually hungry, you're just thirsty. So if you're feeling hungry, have a glass of water and see if that helps. Water doesn't contain any calories. It's got no sugar. It's nothing. It's a perfect drink. It can elevate metabolic rate temporarily, and it supports digestion, which we want, a healthy digestive tract. And it can really aid in flushing out waste and toxins from our body. So what does a balanced weight management eating look like? I always like to give an example so you can really see what a day would look like for you. For example, a breakfast could be a spinach and mushroom omelette. Lunch could be grilled chicken salad or quinoa and roast vegetable, a bowl. And then dinner, you could have some baked salmon with steamed broccoli or a stir-fried tofu with mixed vegetables. So you've got your protein in there and you've got your carbohydrates from vegetables. Your healthy fats could be olive oil. You could maybe roast the vegetables in butter. So what nutritional changes could you make today to help manage your weight? What do you think that you could do, just one thing that you could help manage your weight, whether it would be eating more protein, maybe cutting back on carbohydrates? If you could just write that in the chat box, that would be great. And we could maybe have a discussion about that. So lifestyle tips to support weight management, it wouldn't be complete without talking about what we need to do in our lifestyle. Movement. Regular exercise is important for weight management. We need to move and we need to find something that works for us. We're all individual. It doesn't mean that you have to go to the gym for 2-3 hours a day. It could just be going for a walk. It's all about our daily movement. I have a rule that I will not take escalators or lifts. I always walk upstairs. And this really, if you're doing this every day, it adds up to your daily movement. Maybe getting off the bus a stop earlier on your way to work, so you have to walk more. Getting up from your desk, taking breaks, walking around. Very important that we find some sort of way to move, because this is crucial for weight management. So is there any type of exercise that you found to be most enjoyable for maintaining your health and well-being during midlife and menopause? Is there any tips that anybody's got here of things that they found that they really enjoy doing that has helped them manage their weight and make them feel great during menopause? Let's have a discussion about that. So top lifestyle tricks. This is just some of the things that I found with clients that can really make a big difference. Focus on sleep, manage stress that we've already spoken about. And having, when you're looking at weight management, set some goals, like pin it down. Say, okay, the next 3 months, I'm going to focus on getting healthy, and I want to have lost X amount by the end of these 3 months, because you have to have some sort of goal. Otherwise it doesn't happen. And make changes that you enjoy and you can stick to long haul, because this is a lifestyle change. It's not just something for a couple of weeks. So making things that you can enjoy and you can implement is really important. Don't buy your trigger foods. Try not to have processed, refined foods in the house. If you don't have them, then hopefully you're not going to be eating them. Don't go shopping when you're hungry. Lethal. You find if you go shopping when you're hungry, you're automatically led towards all the carbohydrate-rich foods, because your brain's clever. If you're hungry, your brain knows, oh, we need energy. We need quick energy. I'm going to make sure she goes down the aisles, with all the refined processed foods. So make sure that you're not hungry when you go shopping. And then a useful tool is to keep a food diary. And this isn't something that I recommend. You don't need to do this for a long period of time. But I sometimes ask my clients to do this because it really can make you aware of what you're eating. You can either write it down, or there's apps that you can use that are very useful, where you just put in, do it for a couple of days, because it can be a real eye-opener, and you could think, gosh, do I really eat that much, or do I eat that? It's good to make you aware of what you're eating. So that's a good idea, even if you just do it for a few days. So what's one lifestyle change that you could consider doing to manage your well-being? Is there one thing that you feel that you could change in your lifestyle today that would help you manage your weight and your well-being during menopause? And one thing I just wanted to bring up here, because I get asked this a lot about hormone replacement therapy and weight gain. Despite many women experiencing weight gain while taking HRT to manage menopausal symptoms, there's actually no evidence to support the theory that HRT is responsible for weight gain. But what can happen is that some women, the side effects may be bloating, fluid retention. Some women may experience this with HRT, and they can, be seen as a weight gain. But as far as we know, with the research that we have at the moment, there's no solid research there to say that HRT has an effect on our weight and weight management. The thing is, when we're taking HRT, some women will feel much better, which enables them to be more active and feel better, enables them to actively do the things that we need to do to manage our weight. So just to round up here, I just wanted to tell you the key points here that we've discussed that can be beneficial in weight management during menopause. Reduce your carbohydrates at every meal. Have time between meals. Don't snack all the time. Move more. Eat protein with every meal. Think about your portion size. Think actually about how much you're eating. Avoid processed foods. Reduce your stress, and hydrate. Drink water. Some of the common mistakes that I see that people make when trying to manage weight is poor portion control, so eating too much, having sweet breakfast, so having breakfast that's more like a dessert, too many starchy carbohydrates, regular alcohol consumption, lack of consistency. So, maybe eating or thinking about what you eat for a couple of days, and then the next few days you don't. So no consistency there, not moving enough, eating foods that have a lot of hidden sugars in, and then just grazing, so grazing all the time, eating, snacking, not giving your body a chance to rest. So how many of you have tried a specific diet or nutritional plan to manage your weight during menopause? And if so, what was it? I think it's quite interesting to know if anybody's had or tried anything that has been successful and that they really feel that they can maintain long term. So in summary, we've explored the reasons behind weight changes in menopause. We've discussed nutritional strategies for menopausal weight gain, and we've also looked at lifestyle measures for weight wellness. So thank you all for listening to me today. What I've done is I've put together a free ebook, and it's a Mediterranean diet recipe book that I wanted to offer to anybody that would be interested in that. And this really gives you the ideas of how you should be eating for weight management, the sort of balanced eating long term that we need to be doing to manage our weight. And I've also have done a blog post because we're coming up to the festive season, aren't we? And this can be very difficult to manage when there's food everywhere. So healthy eating, weight management tips for the festive season. So if anybody would like to download those, I can send the links through. But I just wanted to thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you all today. If anyone would like to learn more about me and what I do, then all my links are there. You feel free to send me an email if anyone has any more questions. I also have resources page on my website where you can download more free ebooks. So thank you so much.